Hello, everyone. We're back for another weather extra. I know we've been doing these out on the hours, trying to keep you as updated as possible. Thankfully, we're starting to see some of that warm nose make its way through some of that freezing rain that's right along our state line. So as you can see, Hartselle, Moulton, Decatur, even Athens starting to see some of that rain instead of the freezing rain, seeing that warming trend make its way northwest, which is good. Some improvements for our overnight conditions on the roadways. One expectation that we do have, though, is the fact that we could incur more of that overnight rain, kind of producing another layer of some wet ground that will start to freeze as we go into our Sunday evening hours. So let's go ahead and walk through the forecast. If I could click through it. There we go. So we'll get a brief period of some quiet weather. Still hanging on to a little of that mix there. If you look in the west communities, we'll see a good deal of that rain coming in. But the sleet and freezing rain seems to be moving off to the east. A couple of our communities could incur some late night sleet and freezing rain, but for the most part, we're anticipating that a lot of the standing sleet at the moment will start to melt off into rain for us in those overnight hours. We'll still see decent wind gusts, and the fact that these wind gusts are a little on the stronger side, what we're going to see with that is an acceleration with that overnight freeze going into Sunday night. So here's what we're looking at for Sunday morning. A lot of churches have already communicated that they will be canceling their services for Sunday morning. So make sure you get in touch with your church of choice, making sure that everyone is well aware of how things will go for their Sunday, be it virtual or if you all are planning to do any other worship through any other process, make sure you're well aware of that as well. This is around 5:30. Once we get into those late morning hours, we'll still see heavy rain chances. As you can see here, a good portion of our southern communities will see some heavy rain going into the late morning hours. And on top of that, some areas could incur some lightning, hear some thunder. And the thing here is it's such a cold time for us at the moment. We wouldn't get to anything severe of that nature. So it's not going to give us any ingredients for a severe thunderstorm. We just may incur some lightning and hear some of that thunder. So keep that on the forefront of your mind, and that if you do see or hear it, it's not going anywhere. That's just about as far as that's going to go with the forecast. But expecting a heavy amount of rain going through most of Sunday. And you can start to see along the state line there at the very tip of Lauderdale County, looking over to Mississippi, we're seeing some of that sleet, wintry mix, freezing rain getting back into the forecast around that point as well. So going through the rest of Sunday morning into the afternoon hours, we start to see rain chances move off to the east, leaving our western communities with cooler conditions, drier conditions as well. But because that they already had some of that overnight freezing rain, the expectation is that we could see that rainfall from the early morning hours stick around and create another threat to the current ice that's standing. Their temperatures still on a little bit of the warmer end there. Moulton looks like it's going to be around 35, so just above freezing may help a bit. A lot of the rain is anticipated to help kind of melt off what we've seen from those areas that are hardest hit by the freezing rain and sleet. That starts to move that off just a tad, but even still with that, there is that possibility that some areas could see that refreeze going into Sunday evening. Our eastern communities at this point, we're starting to see those rain chances increasing just a tad going into the afternoon hours. It'll stick around a little longer for those communities. And we do have a decent wind breeze around 11 miles per hour. So those areas will be warm as well, seeing those mid to upper 40s at times. But even still, we'll see our temperatures drop as we get to the afternoon, evening. We'll get into those 20s for a couple areas right around 8 o'clock. And even still, though we have some dry conditions outside, it's going to be tough going for a lot of these communities that are dealing with those leftover icy roads and conditions that may have improved overnight, but it may not have completely melted away everything. In the eastern communities that have seen the least amount of sleet thus far, we could start to incur some of that overnight freezing that would give us patchy ice over here. But the largest concern remains for a lot of our western communities. And like I keep mentioning, another thing that we're looking at here, wind gusts. That's another big portion of it because that's going to accelerate that ice being frozen as we go into Sunday evening into Monday. And another concern, we've extended the first alert weather days into Monday. Because of that, we're also looking at the fact that we're going to start Monday off brutally cold. And for the next couple of mornings, we'll see some teens in the forecast. So we'll get to the 10-day forecast in a moment, but still a lot of those northwestern communities still in an ice storm warning. And a lot of these warnings and advisories will still be in effect well into Sunday evening. It'll be around 8 and 9 p.m. before we see that kind of let up, because we still are at the basis of this, dealing with that ice conditions, especially over in those northwestern communities. That's the largest part that we are concerned about at this moment. And then once we start to step into Sunday, we start to see how that's going to affect our other communities that weren't hit as strong with the ice and sleet that we saw this morning. But the rain that we're anticipating to get from now into Sunday afternoon, once that starts to clear out, leave us some dry conditions, we still could see our temperatures drop drastically into those 30s, and that could leave some areas with frozen roadways. So again, I just want to make sure that we are 100% aware of all the things that could be on the table as far as this goes. So right now we're starting to see lower ice potential going into the late night hours, which is good to note because again, we are anticipating that this rain is starting to melt some of that away. Once we get to about a quarter inch, that's when we start getting concerns of maybe the roadways could be impacted. A lot of folks may see ice on these power lines. And another good point that Brad brought up is that even though there may be ice on the tree branches, folks still have trees around their homes and their backyards and even around patios. We already had about 4 or 5 people reported via Jackson County EMS or EMA. They had already told us that they had already seen about 4 or so injuries due to some black ice. And I know some folks have commented a little earlier today. We're starting to see a lot of folks incurring some ice on their doorstep or their driveway, anything of that nature that's around your home, that your walkways, those things of concern there. So even though it may be fine on your roadways, it's about getting your car down that driveway or getting out to your car if you go through your doorstep and through your walkway in the yard. It's all sorts of these small things that add up to be a large scale issue in your day. And that's what makes it a first alert weather day for us. And even though that may be the only ice that some people seen, the metro area so far hasn't seen much ice, as you can see here, but taking it over to the shoals where even though that ice is decreasing, they still have a good deal of a good ways to go, especially because they are still seeing freezing rain and sleet in their forecast for the overnight hours. It's slowly but surely making its way into our regular standard rain, but even still, it's going to be cold, soaking rain, and we're expecting to see it from now into Sunday morning and then Sunday afternoon. Won't really see it clear up until about 1 to 2 o'clock for a lot of our communities. And by that point, our temperatures will start to drop as well. Some areas will start to drop into the 20s. And if you've already got that ice, like I mentioned, I keep bringing that to the forefront because that is very important. If you already have ice impacts in your own neighborhood, it's only going to get a little worse as we go into some of this rain chance. We may see that improve a little bit with the rain overnight, but with those temperatures dropping back down, that's what's causing that refreeze going into Monday, making another first alert weather day make its way into the forecast. So overnight tonight, we'll see these 30s continuing for the next couple of hours. I'll get you to your 10-day so I can show you those temperatures expected to drop. Sunday, we're expected to see temperatures, our lows in those teens, which means that breeze that we're going to see that's around 10 or so miles per hour could get some wind gusts between 15 to 20 miles per hour. And that's going to make it feel like single digit weather for a lot of us out in the valley. And then as we go into Monday and even Tuesday, seeing our lows in the teens and lows 20s going through the rest of this week, back into the teens by the end of the week as well. So we're taking it step by step at this point, but we have added Monday as a first alert weather day due to the fact that out the door it's frigid, but we're also concerned with the ice impact that we may be left behind with come Sunday afternoon and evening, and it's not going to have room to improve going into Monday, seeing as there's no more rain to come in and try and melt some of that away and speed up that process. So, and our temperatures are highs for Monday, not above freezing either. So this is one of those opportunities that we really are asking folks to make sure they are as safe as possible as this goes, because we could see this continuing into our Monday morning and then even Tuesday morning for some areas that are hardest hit by these rain chances. So with that being said, Brad will be back here in about an hour, 9:30, to give you the latest on another First Alert Weather Extra forecast for you. Once again, another alert day has been added to the forecast for Monday. Very chilly conditions. I hope you all are staying as safe as possible. Don't go through all your snow snacks. We've got a long way to go through this. We'll forecast you all the way through as well. We'll bring you the latest updates as they change. With that, I will go ahead and shut off our extra for now, and we'll see you in about an hour. Have a good one.